a comrade to my mother, a father to his son, and from son to father, you were the only one.
Γιατί τα στέλια κρύψανε το φως, γιατί τα νυχτοπούλια δεν λαλούνε και τα σκυλιά γιατί δεν αληθούνε. Μας το έφερε το νούμερο η καμπάνα, σπαράζει σαν χαροκαμένη μάνα. Ο χτύπος της τρυπάει τον αγέρα κι όλη η σκέψη πήγε στον πατέρα. Το περιμέναμε, μα τώρα που ήρθε παράξενα μας φαίνεται κι ολούθε. Κάτι συμβαίνει, κάτι γίνεται, ο κάθε ένας από εμάς με κάτι καταγίνεται. Κι εγώ δηλώς να μένω πίσω, να μην τολμώ να σ' αποχαιρετήσω. Αντιραδιέμαι να ξεχάσω αυτά που έχασα και τούτα που θα χάσω. Τα τόσα που για μένα έχουν γίνει, τότε που ζούσες, μα και τώρα που έχεις φύγει. Και στη ψυχή σου παραδόσεις, μην το ξεχάσεις, χαιρετίσματα να δώσεις. Σ' όλους αυτούς που θα ανταμώσεις, καλό ταξίδι γέρο μας αγαπημένε, καλό ταξίδι γέρο μας αγαπημένε.
Hello, everyone. This is Psychis for one more time. Tonight we have Alexandros from Macabre Roman and the One. So hi, Alex.
Hello, Psychis. Thank you for having me.
Very nice to have you. So first, the thing I want to ask you is about you as a person. What do you do in your daily life apart from music, of course?
Okay, that's it's going straight into it. Yes. Well, I am turning 42 actually next week, in a few days actually, on the 7th of May. So it's been a long ride. I've been into the black metal scene since '92, and I think from the moment I started listening to those records, I really wanted to form a band, which obviously we did in '94 with Macabre Omen, and the demos that were that came out during those times. As a person, I think most of the people know that I left Greece, Rhodes, back in '97 to move to London, and since then I've been living here. So anything post '97 has been done in London, actually, musically, to be honest. Since the time I came here, apart from the studies, I also used to work in restaurants in order to pay off the loan and all these things for the university. The degree I studied was hotel management, and that's what I'm actually doing. I'm into management, and so as a person, what comes first is work, which is management, and eventually a byproduct of that is music itself. So whatever I see in life comes into music. So it's two sides of me, really. It's the professional side and the musical side. So
yeah, I get that. So which were your first early influences that made you want to form a band?
I mean, I listened to metal since I would say was early 90s, and I really like what I heard back then, you know. So started collecting vinyls, tapes, whatever was available, whatever I could put my hands on, really, because I was living on an island, which was quite far from everything. So I had to resort to solutions such as tape trading and things like this in order to get my music fix. So, you know, although I started from rock and metal, around 92, I think I started listening to death and black. And I think at that point, when I started listening to black metal, I'm like, okay, I really would like to do a band now. Not so much with the death metal stuff, but I think black metal really had something very special. I think what was special was the fact that every band sounded very, very different. You know, they had their own approach, and I could see the potential with this type of music to come up with your own thing. You know, it really allowed you to expand. Where
Yes, of course.
death metal doesn't really allow you to, or like the true death metal of the 90s. You know, the death metal I loved listening to, you know, Obituary and you know, Dayside and all this kind of stuff. It had its limits. So yeah, I think black metal really allowed me to explore that type of music. And yeah, the bands that really you know, got me into this idea, I think I would definitely say it was Rotting Christ, and especially the first couple of albums, Passage to Arturo and like Mighty Contract, obviously, the Burzum album, the white one, Vis Lus Taros. The atmosphere on that, you know, is very, very special for me. And obviously Bathory and all the stuff from the Hellenic scene, you know, the Varathrons and the Zemial albums and Dower Lord albums, all these things basically that used to come out from Unisound Records and all these classic labels really inspired me to form my band. And although 94 was the beginning for Macabre Roman, it took quite a few years to get where I wanted it to be. You know, the beginning was just diving into the deep, trying to grasp something, but we didn't really have the skill. But it took time to get where we wanted. I would even say it took up to 20 years.
Yeah, it's always like that in the beginning.
Always, yes.
All right, so I want you to tell us whatever you remember from the first days of Macabre Roman.
Yeah. Well, we were going to high school back then. I think it was second year of high school, or the second year of Liceo. That's how it's called. Maybe the first year, I don't remember. So it was myself, Nikos, and my friend Lefteris. So we were really the black metalers of that school. Really, we were dressed in black with shirts. Trying to have long hair, but we didn't really have it, you know. Look more like punk. So we were really like misfits, to be honest. Frowned upon, even from the teachers. Quite extreme times. My father wasn't very pleased with all this, you know, because you really stick like a sore thumb especially in those days. You walk on the street with the black and the hair and the t-shirts. People don't really appreciate it back in the 90s. I think things might have changed now. 25 years later. I'm not sure if they've changed in the villages of Rhodes. I don't know about that, but it was difficult times, I have to admit. But it was good times nonetheless. You know, we were listening to something very, very niche, very special, and very exclusive. It was like our own little universe, you know. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was like totally pure back then.
Very, very, I have to agree here, very, very pure. And to be honest, you know, I miss this a lot. It's changed a lot over these last few decades. I don't want to sound like an old timer, but unfortunately it has. I mean, for us to listen to this stuff, you know, we had to really dig deep, and everything sounded great. So I don't know if it was our purity that made it sound good, or the fact that every band had no association with another band, so they could just do their own thing. Basically, like somebody gives you a manual explaining to you what black metal is and how it sounds and how you're supposed to do it, and everybody would just read the manual but do their own thing. So amazing time. And unfortunately, although today everything looks great, sometimes doesn't sound great. I think people have the ability to listen to something very fast now with the internet. And that's not always a good thing, because before you know it, everything looks and sounds the same. But back in the 90s, it didn't. That was the beauty of it. So that's what I miss, actually.
Yeah, that was actually the same until the early zeros, as far as I remember, because I was tape trading too, and now I was talking to a guy like 2-3 days ago, and he was like, "Dude, check this out." I'm like, "No, I don't want to. Thank you. I've had enough."
It's nice to discover something yourself. To be honest, I think for me that's one of the memories I had. And when you discover something by yourself, and you're so excited about it that you want to inform everyone about that.
Yeah, the shock and the chills.
Exactly. So now it's more of like it comes to you. So I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to discover things to still get that fix with black metal, you know. And if I discover something I enjoy, I will tell my friends or comrades or whatever. And I think somehow that's the kind of marketing, let's say in brackets, approach that I'd like to follow with my music still. So I don't want to really spoon feed it. I would like people to discover, because I know that once they discover and they enjoy what they hear, that's going to be a core foundation to keep the name going. That's really, yeah.
So, about the first releases of Macabre Roman.
Yes.
Let's dig deeper into that.
Well, we did a demo in '94 called Secrets of the Moonlight. Not great stuff, to be honest. You know, we just had a tape recorder, we just pressed play, and we just came out from a shop with the guitars. So we started really jamming stuff. You can't really listen to this stuff. I think the next demo in '95 was a bit more worked upon. You know, we really worked a bit more on it, but still it didn't sound great. So these two demos, personally, '94 demo and a '95 demo, they're not even good as rehearsals, I would imagine. So that's the reason I don't really kind of promote them, and you can't really find them. But it was a good start. You know, if we wouldn't have done those, we would never know where to go. So I think the first really good Macabre Omen release was 1996, the promo called Olympus. I think that's the first one with a real drummer, actually. We also from my high school, that you know, we managed to record in a proper studio and get something decent out of it. I think that for me is the beginning of the band, 1996.
So that was actually Olympus demo. I mean, was the one that you started forming and creating your own sound, like the way you had in your head.
Say, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the beginning. And the reason it sounds so good is also because me and the bassist Nikos, and all of us actually, we started doing music lessons. You know, the guitar lessons. So the first two demos, there was no guitar lessons, just hitting the strings. So that's why it doesn't sound right. But you know, we did a couple of years of acoustic guitar, classical guitar, and that helped a lot. But saying this, we were all part of a brass band of the village since the '86 and '87. So I was not unfamiliar with music. So my first instrument actually was drums and trumpet. I was playing the trumpet for about 6 years. So you know, I was quite good at music, but not at guitar. That was really something new for me. So that's why it took a couple of years from '94 to '96 to start really performing something that sounds like the band sounds now. Still not quite there, but definitely a good stepping stone, I would say.
Yeah, always it's a good start, you know.
Exactly.
So, from what I know, you're like a Split fan, like I am, because after Olympus you got like 4 splits, if I'm right.
Yeah. Yes, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly 4.
I did my study. And later on, you released the album "The Ancient One Returns," which was actually the first full-length album.
Exactly, yeah.
So, like the top typical question from Macabre Roman: why did it take so long for the album?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer here is just because 1997 was the year where I was sent to London to study. And back then, the times were different. Nothing is on the plate. So I was really dumped, I would say. It's like somebody took me and put me in another universe. So I was placed in London in 97 with an acoustic, so I always say acoustic, it's a classical guitar. That's the one I use. So it's this one here, that one. The same guitar from those years. So that guitar, and
it's like a collectible.
Exactly. So me and that guitar back in 97 in London, and I had no idea about studios. I had no money really. So that's one of the reasons it took so long. There was no band really. It was just myself. So I think 97 onward, that was a time where I had all the time in the world to sit by myself and feel things and make songs. So most of the stuff you hear from the splits and from the Ancient Returns is from that era, from being dumped in London all the way up to recording in 2004 for the album. All that material was from that period of time, with some riffs from the beginning of the band, I would say. Some of the riff IDs were between 94 and 96. So that's the reason it took so long. It took so long because, I had to make some money to support my studies and also record the album because it was self-financed. And yes, I know it sounds crazy, but, these were different times. My family had no money to support me. Everything I did from 97 up to now was done by myself. I don't want to go too much into detail, but there were some unfortunate things within the family with regards to money. So I had to, work and earn that money to invest in the music. And with music, there's no money coming back.
Yeah, you tell me, I know.
Exactly, it only goes one way. So that's one of the reasons. But I think the other reason is that I never felt that any of the material was good to conclude an album. So I remember all the songs on this album, I remember playing them by myself in my room in the university, the dorm, every night on the guitar. I had no software to record it, so I was just playing it. So the software, the hard drive was my brain. So all these songs were formed in my brain with my classical guitar, especially the second song and the third song, A Call from Gods to God, and An Ode to Road, and Hellas, the last song. These songs were done, in my mind. And we never really rehearsed this stuff. I just went to the studio, and believe it or not, that album was recorded in 3 days.
That's the best actually, because you know how it works, and then you just go for it.
Just do it. Yeah, it's got a lot of mistakes, but only I know about them. So that's the best.
Actually, for me, it's better than the constant copy paste of every fucking riff here and there.
I agree. It's more organic this way.
Yeah. And I also understand because I started my first band in 2001 or 2, and we released our first album in 2019. So I get it, but I just wanted to hear like another point of view about how late you got it.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good. There's too many albums coming out. There's no reason for doing too many albums. The best thing to do is take your time and get them the best you can get. Yeah. Personally, the way it works for me, I always get alarm bells in my body telling me that now is the time. So when I get
you somehow know it.
Yeah, that's why it takes so long.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, right after the full-length album, you got 2 years Standing Proud in Valhalla, and right the next year after that, which was 2007, you got 3 years Standing Proud in Valhalla. Well, obviously you're a Bathory fan.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
And right after that, you got in 2015, like Gods of War at War, which which was highly appraised from literally everybody, because I remember like everybody talking to me about that album, and I'm like, yeah, of course I've heard that, you know.
I know. Yeah.
I know you know. We know you know.
I knew. I knew it. That's the reason I said it on the recording. To be honest, I knew this would be a good album. I always knew that people would embrace it. It had everything that I grew up with. To be honest, so it has, you know, all the stuff I loved as a kid. You know, Rotting Christ, Bosom, Bathory, you know, Varathron, Old Varathron. This is the stuff I grew up with, and it has those elements.
Also Greek ethnic.
Absolutely, yeah.
Music style.
A lot of that. Yeah, I really like Greek music a lot, especially once I left Greece.
Yeah, I get it. Kind of homesick.
Helps. Once you move out and you forget the part of living there on a daily basis, and you listen to the sounds, I think that helps. I think it's difficult when you live there to fully appreciate. But once you're out, I think, I was listening to a lot of stuff even back then. To be honest, the last, I would say 8 years is the only thing I listen to is a lot of Greek music from everywhere in Greece. It's incredible how rich the music in Greece is over the last 100 years. So that really is a big inspiration for me. I've got a lot of instruments, folk instruments from every country, but also from Greece. So it's quite interesting to incorporate those things within the music. Actually, I had a lot of feedback from outsiders and people in general saying that the style of guitar that I'm playing, it's got a very Aegean feel, you know, like sea. So I really don't know how, but I guess it does, you know. So I enjoy that, and I would like to bring more of that out there.
Besides, right now you got like a total signature style of guitar, especially for classics.
Thank you.
You know, you're gonna start crying until forever. I don't know, with your music.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do play guitar a lot, but I only play my stuff, so I don't really know how to play. I don't know how to cover a song, to be honest, but I've always played guitar, my music. So although it sounds a bit of samey, I try to always incorporate something new within it, be it Macabre Roman or the one, which is again slightly total different, actually very different guitar style for that band.
I have a comment about that later.
Let's do that later. Let's finish off with Gods of War. We're on the top now with the best album.
Yeah, so actually you had like literally everyone going crazy about that album, talking about that album, crying over that fucking album, which was amazing.
Amazing, yeah. That's nice.
So obviously you had like your soul and mind into that album. Of course, I get that. But even the sound was like, it was released in London, right? Recorded.
Yes, it was recorded in Birmingham, actually, so Midlands, not in London. Yeah. But yeah, I live in London.
So you even managed, even by that way, you have like a totally Greek Mediterranean sound.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? I think music has no boundaries, I would say. I think music is about feeling, it's about memories, it's about soul, and that's why sometimes it takes longer. I cannot really do justice to an album if I record it in a year or two. I need more time, personally. I need experiences.
Yeah, I get that.
So there's a lot of albums out there, you know, there's a lot of bands doing albums all the time, and I think to stand different, you need to do the opposite, total opposite, which is what I'm doing. An album every 10 years.
Yeah, I know. So we're gonna be waiting until 2030 for the next one, I hope.
Yes. Well, 20, well, no, I would say it's 25. This is 15 for Gods of War. So 2025 maybe for the next one, possibly a bit longer, because to be honest, I'd like it to be the final album. So I'd like to do my for that album, yes.
Yeah, that for me that kind of sucks, but as a musician, I get that.
Yes.
You feel like it's just a book that's about to finish reading.
You can always open another book.
Yeah.
Why not? But I think that book can end there. Would be nice.
Yeah.
On a high note.
Okay. Well, that was a shock. But okay, I get that.
To give you an exclusive, so here's your exclusive.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
So about Gods of War, how do you feel that everybody's like totally feeling and everybody's attached to that album? It's like, for example, there are many songs that I feel like they are written for me, and literally everybody feels the same way.
Yes. I think the reason that people feel the same way is because the songs, most of the songs, I would say, that they are real songs. So they're real experiences. They're my experience with life, and I use common sense with life myself. So you can be the biggest misanthrope and the most evil person, but somehow deep inside, in the core of you, there is an element that would understand what you can go through when you feel at your lowest, or even when you feel at your highest. So that's what I try to get through the music of this album. Not really for the people, but for myself. It's like a cathartic album, you know. Especially songs like From Son to Father.
Yeah, of course.
These type of songs are very real and very personal. And to be honest, you know, everybody will go, one day will go through that moment. Maybe the connection with the father is not so strong like I had, but you might have that connection with another person that might be a father figure to you or whatever. So I understand, and I did receive a lot of messages stating that people have, you know, felt that this song or the album or whatever was written for them, or it helped them, or whatever. So it's quite interesting. You know, I don't write music for other people, but I think if people can join my ship and go with me, I think that's a bonus. You know, why not?
Yeah.
And that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's true, because, you know, like literally everyone was touched by this album. So maybe it for father to son, I was totally shocked with Ode B.
Yes.
Because you actually kind of finished the poem that your father did.
Yes.
And I felt like I want to come over and like give you a hug and say like, thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, this is the reason this album. I mean, this album actually was ready, I would imagine, around 2010, 2011. And again, I did want to spend a couple of years more, but I wouldn't spend too much more on it because the music was ready. But then I got the news that my dad passed away, and I had to leave everything. And then reflecting on the album after what I experienced, I was like, how can you release something without mentioning or showing in the music that this person is not part of your life anymore? So that's why it took an extra 4 years to be released. And that's how the music works in general, for me at least. It's a mean to just get out of the gutter, you know, from your lowest to the highest, to get out of there. So I had to revisit the album, and I owe it to my father's death that this album sounds like this, because it would possibly not sound exactly like this if he was still alive.
Yeah, I totally get that, because again, as a musician, you play, for example, like a riff, and you say, okay, that's good, and with some minor changes, you say, you know, that's it. That's the thing that I want.
Exactly, yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I know it's totally different. All right,
Yes.
so let's go to an Amnesia compilation.
Yes.
I don't.
I have to stop you there. It's not a compilation.
I know that's what I want to say. I don't
Okay.
even consider it a compilation or an EP or
Excellent.
whatever. I don't know.
I've spent 5,000 euro on this, so to play it. So how can it be a compilation if I spend so much money? You need to
Yeah.
answer that question.
No, seriously, I don't even think that it's a compilation or an EP or a re-release or whatever.
Yes.
It's something that we're gonna have to find a new word for that.
Thank you. Actually, I think so too. I really didn't know what this thing was. What I knew is that, again, being myself, I was going through something rough. I don't want to go too much into detail, but I think around 2017, 16, I was going through something that I was not very happy with. So the byproduct of that is this song, this new song. So I could have used this song on a new album, but it wouldn't represent that new album, which will be out in 2025. So I thought that I think it's good to offer this now to get some closure for myself, but also to create like a door that would take me from the past of the band to the future, but also from the past of me being myself to something else. So I can use that door to go forward or open it again and go backwards if I want. It's up to me. So that's what this release is. That's for me, it's a bridge. This release is really a bridge. Obviously, you don't have this advantage of calling it a bridge. So you have to come up with a word. So for me, personally, I would call it a mini album. That's why, because a compilation, it is definitely not a compilation.
Yeah.
Like for me, if I could release this with one song, I would have done that. But the fact that people were constantly asking about all this other old stuff, I was, okay, let's do this one new song, and everything else that comes along with this, it's a bonus. So just ignore all that. It's there free, but that song is the release. That's it really. So it really hurts when I hear the word compilation and people going on and on about it, because it's not a compilation. A compilation is something that you put together with existing stuff, and it technically should cost you nothing to make. This cost me, like I said, about 5,000 euro to create.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why it's not a compilation. I would say it's a mini album. It's almost 15 minutes of a new track, and all the rest is just old stuff. And along with the music, I think for the first time I put together old undocumented photos that were never released, text from my mind, from my memories that I think really resonates for people to read and see what we were going through during those times. And that for me is the cutoff point of the past with the present. So anything I do from this point will be something new. So I really want to focus on that next album, that big album that I want to do, and that could hopefully be the pinnacle. Hopefully, that's my aim.
That's the amazing thing about this new song Amnesia from the past, because it does sound like a bridge between it's like a direct continuation from Gods of War, but it also has something new, like for example those ambient elements and
yes, it has some soundtrack feel to it. I think it's got I mean, every moment of that song, it reminds me of something. It's a real song again. It's like this song from Son to Father. These type of songs are real. So I think you can hear it. I know it's a slow song, but it is a real song, and it had to be done. And the reason I released it now is because I don't want the next album to sound like this. I mean, it will sound a bit like this and like Gods of War, but it will also sound like something else, like you said. It will have extra elements that I've never used before, and hopefully will be on a new album.
Yeah, that's like something you owe to yourself to do, because you want to evolve as a musician too.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
So in both Amnesia and Gods of War, there are photos of you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Do you care to elaborate a bit more about the front covers, both for Gods of War and what they represent, and Amnesia?
Sure. Gods of War, I think it's a very special photo. I think it's a photo that it takes balls to achieve. And to...
I know, like what the fuck?
It's a real photo. obviously we did touch up with the colors to get an effect from it, but the photo is real, and I would go as far as saying that it's very difficult to get. So I'm thankful to the people that allowed me to get this photo. Don't want to mention anybody's name, and I don't want to mention where this photo has been taken for obvious reasons. But it's a real photo, and what it represents, it was actually in my mind. I mean, I knew already what the cover would be for the album 5 years before the photo was taken. So it's incredible to have something in your mind and then 5 years later do it, even if it sounds impossible to do.
No.
When we got that photo, I was just over the moon, to be honest, because it really sums up the album. What it represents, it's you're in front of a temple. That temple for me is it's basically it's going to transport you to wherever you want to be. I see it as a vessel, to transport my body and soul closer to the gods. Because I do believe that we are in a way we are gods, all of us, each and every one of us. We are, in our body we are a universe by ourselves as we are, and in our body there's a whole universe inside us. And when we die, that universe dies. That's the way I see life. Really, I see it a bit like from a astrophysics point of view, and I even believe that this universe we live in is somebody else's body. That's the way I look at it. And
that's very interesting, actually.
That's how I see it. It's like there's the microcosm and the macrocosm, and who knows what's beyond that. I think it's endless, really. But anyway, so that's the idea behind the photo. Really, I really wanted that photo with the sword, the warrior. Just being transported somewhere else, and I'm very grateful of having that photo, because that was the idea. I could have drawn it, could have got an artist to draw it, but I don't understand the connection of third person with the music. It's quite irrelevant, and I enjoy metal albums, and I've got a big collection here as we speak, massive collection. About 10,000 vinyls, I would say. That's my collection, and it's a lot of drawings, and it's fantastic paintings. But sometimes I don't understand what the connection is with the musician and the artist. I can understand it with Iron Maiden because they've been working years and years with that. It's like a sixth member of the band, that guy, But I don't understand how I can commission my idea with some artist if he's not part of the band. That's my point. So that's the reason I prefer photography for this. So that's the cover of Gods of War in a nutshell. The other cover is Amnesia. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Amnesia obviously is a more kind of abstract release, like we discussed. It's not an album. It's not a compilation. We don't know what it is, but that photo was taken by my partner, actually, Lindy Fye, who is doing the vocals on the middle section of the song. So she took that photo in Norway. It's a place called Liderhorn. It's one of the 7 mountains of Bergen, and it's called the Witch Mountain. And somehow that photo kind of sums up that song for me. I don't know. It's like I'm opening my arms to the Song of the Sirens, and I want them to take me with them somehow. Take me and move forward with that song. But don't touch me because they're dangerous. Just want to hear. So that's the idea behind it. And again, I'm grateful for that photo because it's a great, fantastic photo. It's a real photo. Again, we played with the colors a bit, but more or less, that's the photo. So
actually, that's epic in a whole different level.
Thank you. Yeah, great times. And this is the music also. The music for me works as a photo album. It's like when you want to see old pictures of yourself. That's the reason I have photos. If I have a drawing which I haven't done, I don't see the relevance of it. That's the reason. I wish I could draw. Let's put it out.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
I wish I could draw. So.
Yeah.
So, next question. You have many references to Alexander the Great, lyrics and photographs. So, of course, you're kind of influenced by him. But what I wanted to ask you is, how do you judge him, or do you see him as a personality?
Yeah. Very, very interesting question, actually. Thank you for that. Thank you. If you see the booklet of Gods of War, there's an image of a coin of Alexander, actually. I had that as a necklace, as a golden necklace given to me by my father. Unfortunately, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time in London. And that necklace, which I had for about 20 years around my neck, somebody grabbed it from behind in a crowded place.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
that sucks.
So I lost that necklace, and it was post my father's death. I think it was 2012 or something, straight after, actually. And it was the only connection, really physical, I had with him, like him giving me that necklace, that golden necklace of that coin around my neck. It's like the most, I don't know, very personal, to be honest. And then some loser taking it from me. Unfortunately, I turned around and I started punching random people, but I was not the right person. I didn't know who it was. The person already left. It was a crowded place, like I said. So that really, I don't know, that hurt me a lot. And in hindsight, I look at it and I'm like, it's only physical property. It's not important. You know, it's the most important thing is your memories, your health. Can't really hold on to the physical too much, you know.
Yeah.
But it did hurt. It did hurt. So the best thing I could do to honor that image of that coin is to use it in the artwork, with the hope that one day I'll get it back. I don't know. Like I even have it. I even have it on my watch list on eBay. Hopefully that person will see how useless it is and he will put it back and I can buy it back from him. But yeah, that's the idea behind it. Alexander the Great, the only reason I mention is because, you know, you read about it in history, you learn about it in school. My name is Alexandros. It's a very interesting name. The whole idea is very interesting. That, you know, of, you know, getting the Hellenic thing further out there. But, you know, we all know that that's not just that, you know. There's been a lot of war, death, slaughter, you know, crazy stuff during those times. So I don't really embrace those things. This is what saddens me when people see a lyric about something and they start taking it literally, you know. What about taking it metaphorically? What's wrong with that? The idea behind the whole idea is interesting, you know. You just getting your culture out there, but unfortunately, the reality is that it's a bit more extreme than that, and vice versa. You know, where Greece has been through a lot, you know, over the years. You know, the Persian wars and the Ottoman Empire and all this stuff. So I think it's a human thing. So if it's not Alexander the Great, if it's not Alexander the Great, it's somebody else. So I don't understand why people get offended sometimes. I never embrace or hail this type of people. But it's for me. I find something. The connection with it is in my name. The fact that my father named me Alexandros. The fact that I had an uncle, his brother, my father's brother, who died in a car crash in Cyprus in the age of, I don't know, 25, 26, with his wife and his kid. Back then,
too bad.
That's the connection. So that's the name, really. So nothing to do with the imperial thing. I don't care about politics, and I'll say this here. I just don't care. I am myself, and I'm interested in history, every kind of history, every kind of culture, and you can hear it in my music. You know, I collect instruments, I collect music, and yeah, I don't really care about the politics behind it. So, but it is an interesting theme, you know, and I think I very much got inspired by Iron Maiden also, to be honest, with their song about Alexander. And to be honest, the first two lines of the lyric are taken from Iron Maiden. So just read my read my lyrics. It's from Iron Maiden, the first lines of the song.
Yeah, you know, that always happens somehow. Because you're like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, no, it's like the riffs. How many times have you played the riff? You say, oh, this rules, and you suddenly hear it from a record you play.
Yes, yes. But I did take the lyrics, I took them on purpose. So it's
All right.
Alexander, I don't remember, just read the lyrics, and it's taken from Iron Maiden, but it's a tribute, really. Yeah, but I know what you mean. It's very sad when you come up with a riff that actually belongs to someone else. Yeah, you have to work around that, to say the least.
Yeah.
We should play a song for our fans.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Yeah. What song you want to play?
Let's go with one you choose.
I think it's time to listen to an Amnesia from the past, Sirens Calling.
Φέρνει στο λίμνη ήχος αγγλία. Πικρό το χείλο, φιλοφρύο. Φέρνει στο λίμνη του ροπιτό, κάδιο καρδίλι και ένα πολλό. Τόσα και τόσα έχουν αγγίσει, και τώρα πόσο ανοίγει την πίστα. Ο αναλύς ο ρατσιστής, να μην ξυπήσει τα λίμνη.
hope to see your figure, hear your voice so stare at your eyes. Deep inside I know that the departed from the dead will never rise. And I thank the gods that the departed from the dead can never rise.
So, next chapter is about the other band called The One,
Yes.
which for me personally is like, for example, the album I Master is like the most dark release ever.
Yes.
Many think that it's close to The Mysteries, but I'm not a Mayhem fan, so I don't even care. I don't know. But for me, it's like totally dark, and every time I'm listening to that album, is like I don't know, like a black shadow or something over me.
Yes, that's the idea behind it. Actually, it's the idea behind it is to finish the album. It's only 32 minutes, I think, and by the end of it, you feel like some bigger being took its hand in your heart and pulled it out, pulled your soul out. That's the idea behind the album.
You got that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm like,
That was the idea. I was also going through some difficult things. I sound like a soap opera in a way, but it's not
Like-
always like this. But sometimes I think I don't know, I think it's circumstances, so it's how life is, you know. You got your ups and you got downs. In fact, the way I look at life myself is that it's a series of kind of down events, you know. It's like it's a series of unfortunate events. That's life for me. But sometimes when you get something good, it's a bonus, you know. That's when you should be happy. But other than that, I find life being quite of a downer most of the times. But that's where music comes in. It compensates for that. It counterbalances things, and I see it with The One. You know, it's like I need it after working on Macabre Omen. I need to work on The One. So it is kind of a game, and between those two bands, there's always 10 years of a gap between the albums, more or less. So that's the idea behind it. In fact, for The One, the previous album I Master was 2008. So it's more than 10 years. It's almost 2022 now, in the next 6 months, and we still don't have an album. So it's 12 years, but that doesn't mean that I haven't been working on it. I've been working on it actually, and there's riffs from that era, there's riffs from before 2008, and it's mainly music that myself and my drummer actually have been not composing, because the music is composed by myself, but we're putting it together for the last 4 years. In fact, the last 4 years we've been working on The One non-stop. The reason we have this interview today is because I'm not working on The One, to be honest, because every weekend we are working on The One. So I'm quite happy and relieved that this weekend is an off weekend for myself, just to reflect on things and go back with full force to aim to finish this album, this third album for The One, by end of the year. If you thought that I Master was a big album, wait until you hear this one.
All right.
This one is I don't want to say too much, but I think it's a very, very sick album, and I think it's something that will remind people that there is still room for a black metal album with riffs. It's just a barrage of riff after riff after riff, old school style, you know. It has a signature style of The One. It's a different playing than Macabre Roman. I don't know how to express it or explain it. Like I said, Macabre Roman is more on the Mediterranean, Aegean, island kind of feel, very epic. This one is darker, it's evil, it's necro, it sounds eerie, unorthodox. The style of playing it's very, I would say, very, I don't know, not controversial, but very punkish, dirty style. So we that kind of approach on the album, I think, with elements from, all the stuff we grew up listening to, like the Mysteries, Dom Satanas, and all the old Absu vitriol stuff.
Yeah.
It's a bit of Inquisition in it, Abruptum, Blasphemy, Beherit, Impelling Nazarene. It's got all this stuff in there, but not, again, I don't like copying and pasting ideas. It's my take on what I grew up with. So that album is going to be something very special, very big, from the cover to the music. And that's the reason we take such a long time. In a nutshell, what I'd like to say on this interview, as an exclusive for you, my friend, is that the drums have been recorded in a church. We went to a Methodist church. We've used that church during COVID times as a rehearsal space, because the studios were shut in London during the pandemic. So we managed to get hold of a church and a space in a church to practice and also record the drums. And the drum kit itself is about 4,000 or 5,000 euro kit. It's made of oak. It's got the best kind of cymbals, zildjians, and all these kind of things. And the sound of it sounds like the Mysteries. That echo that is created by the chambers of the church.
Yeah, I can already imagine the reverb. And
so it's a beautiful reverberation. It sounds like a coffin. iMaster has a bit of this. It sounds like somebody hits coffins, and that's the idea I wanted. So I think we got it with this one. And it's an incredible performance by my drummer. He really worked hard on it. And at the moment we have that, plus the guitars are ready. So yeah, I would imagine in the next 6 months we have the whole album done. It would be 7 songs. It would be close to 40 minutes. And there would be some very special interludes between those songs. I don't want to say too much about it, but
yeah, of course,
these interludes have been, they are a byproduct of I would say dream, but I could also say it's a visit at the astral plane, somehow like this. It's like it was a very vivid experience for me. It was something I had about 5-6 years ago. And based on that, just that experience, I came up with all those interludes. They sound very voodoo-ish, maybe Aztec sounding. I don't know what they sound like, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that was in my dream or astral experience. I don't know what it was, but they act as interludes between the tracks, and I think that it might also be out on an album, separate album. So we are actually working on 2 albums. Let's put it that way: an ambient one,
awesome,
a black metal one. So that's why it takes so long. The band exists, but we are hiding in the shadows, and hopefully by the beginning of 2022, I think it will be out. I'm aiming for the end of the year, but I think it will be the beginning of 2022. So yeah, how long? 14 years from the previous album. It's quite extreme, but
yeah,
I think it'll be worth it.
As long as it gets released, I can wait.
Yeah, I have to release this. It's something I am going through. I'm going through my lowest at the moment, psychosomatically. So I want to use this out, this album, and release it.
Yeah, I get that. Because for me, like the one is like, if I could describe it, it's gonna be like void, hate.
Yes.
That's about it, actually.
It's a bit more to it, but yeah, that's a good interpretation. It's quite a lot of that. There is quite a lot of hate. We're living in a difficult world. I am in London at the moment, and it's funny to see the people and the humanity. I sound like a hypocrite, but although I enjoy London, I don't enjoy the humanity of it. It's crazy. It's not for me. And I think eventually I will get the fuck out of here. Sorry to use this word, but it's really not for me. I prefer to be by myself, and it reflects in the music. Me, myself, and my music, and yeah. But,
that's all you need, actually.
I think so too.
Because, for example, during this whole lockdown thing,
Yes.
I still continue to be like absolutely happy. I don't have to go out and see people.
Absolutely. It's a funny one. I mean, I've lost family from the disease, from the pandemic or whatever, and it's sad. But in a way, I enjoy the fact that you go out and you can breathe fresh air. There is less human interaction, and it just got lifted a couple of weeks ago, and you can already see the human element everywhere, and it's quite sad to see. It's the worst species on this planet is humans. I have no problem with the individual, but as a whole species, it's very sad.
We fucking suck. I don't know.
I know. It's very sad.
So, everybody in Greece wanted to ask you that one. There was this show in Greece in Sin City Club,
Yes.
where after about 20 or 15 minutes, because I remember I was there and I was watching you play for the first time. It was how I came across the one.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, and you kind of left the stage without, we were looking at the drummer was looking back at us, and we didn't know what the fuck was wrong.
Interesting. That's the set, actually. The set is me leaving the stage. And to be honest, I know it sounds like nothing special now in 2021. But when we started doing this in 2007, that was our first show actually with Inquisition in London. That's how we did it. That was the idea behind it. To go on stage, no talking, just music, interludes between the songs, and then just leave the stage. I think that was very special. And to be honest, from 2007 until that show, I think the last show I did was 2014 or 2015 in London, and that was my last show. That was the set, leaving the stage. I wouldn't say it's 15 minutes. I thought it felt longer. It felt like half an hour, but I could be wrong. But
yeah, trust me, it wasn't.
It was 15 minutes. Okay. I think there were quite a lot of disappointed people, to be honest. But yeah, we play 5 songs and then we go. That's it. Just to create something different. For me, music is about doing something different, because everybody does the same thing. I cannot apply my art into everybody else's art. You can't compete. You need to do your own thing.
Yeah.
So that was something. I wasn't doing it because I didn't want to play. I just felt that was the maximum I could be there and play this. It didn't need more. In all honesty, I don't remember it being 15 minutes. I thought it was more. I'm really sorry if it was 15. I thought it was half an hour.
Oh, it wasn't. And the funny thing is that I was working at that venue. So a guy told me that there's this black metal show and you gotta come earlier before your shift. I was like, okay, sure. And I saw you guys on stage. I'm like, hold on. I was like, okay, yeah. So I really enjoyed the show. And right after you left, and the lights went on again, and everybody was like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, dude, that's it. It's black metal.
Black metal, exactly, yeah. Exactly. No talking, straight on. Yeah, maybe it should have been a bit longer, but it would definitely not be an hour, that's for sure. What am I going to say in an hour? There's nothing to say. So that was my point. So, yeah, we haven't done a show in 6 or 7 years. The last one we did was again in London with Necros Christos. That was a really interesting show. We left it on a high note. And yeah, for now, there are no shows in mind. I would like to focus on the new album. It's a very special album. It's got a big part of me in that album. I think people will be blown away, especially from the music point of view. It's basically like revisiting the 90s. It's the soundtrack of the 90s for me. So it's all there. And who knows? Maybe once that album is out, we might go on the road again with something different. I don't want to do that again. I want to do something new around that vision, but different. So the sky's the limit, let's put it this way. So if you see me again, it probably won't be 15 minutes. It will be something in that context, but in a different element of it, aspect of it.
Yeah, at least I'll know what to expect the next time.
Yeah.
So, about what you said with the one, is this the specific reason that on iMaster you got just numbers on the songs and not even titles?
Yeah, actually, okay, here's the funny thing. There are titles for the songs. Every song has got lyrics and every song has got titles. But again, I didn't feel like this album needed text. In fact, the album has no text anywhere. The only text you see, and again, that's the label doing it, is you see the band name and you see the album title. But other than that, I wanted to hide all the text. There is some text of lyrics on the photography. I took photos of the lyrics so people can read it. There are some words there, but I just didn't really feel like I wanted to share much. In fact, the whole marketing of the album was nothing. It wasn't just nothing, just like flyers and word of mouth. There was nothing. So that was, I just really, for me, I wanted to test to see if the music is so good, can it really resonate with people? That's what I wanted to test to see if we still live in the 90s. And I think it didn't go as far as I hoped, but I think it did resonate with people. It means that the music is good. It will land. Well,
at least for me personally, you know, if you ask me, with of course with the full album, but the fourth track from My Master,
yes,
is making me want to go on a killing spree. So I think it's working.
Yeah. Again, this is an album that was actually recorded in 3 days, and sometimes this is. I wonder if this is the best way of doing it, because we are spending about an hour and a year in recordings now for the next album. When I say a year, we are just revisiting things, you know. Like, I think I've written this album, I've recorded this album about 2 times already, and it's not good enough. I'm going again and again until I get it right. So it's I think it's just approaches in doing it. The reason I'm doing it differently this time is because, you know, I've done a 3-day thing. I've done it with the Ancient Returns. I've done it with I Master. 3 days, plug and play. But we don't want that effect on the next one. The next one needs to have a different effect. So I'm going to the other extreme for it. So, yeah, it's very interesting the way it works. But I'm looking forward to get this done by end of the year.
Yeah, and I also remember that I Master was really hard to find, because I'm a typical Discogs fan, so I'm gonna have to search about everything. So you recently had a re-release, which I bought.
Yes.
So I'm finally like a proud owner of that album. So
maybe
I guess
if we meet in person one day after the pandemic, I will give you a copy of the original. You don't have the original then?
No, just the digipack, the re-release from that album.
I'll give you the original. You deserve it. All right.
Thank you very much.
I have a spare one here for close friends.
Yeah. Okay. Works for me. So yeah. So in any case, it does resonate. So you know, because we're like 1,000 copies or something like that.
And it's very pressed, and it's almost getting sold out again. I know the vinyl is almost sold out, and again, you know, it's interesting because we don't do much with it, so it does resonate. I'm sure if I would do more with it, there would be more of a reaction, maybe. But I don't care. I just don't care. I just want to ensure that the art is out of my body and it's on a disc. It's like it's bothering me, you know. It needs to be out and locked up in a box. That box is a CD. That's the way I look at it. And if I want to listen to it, it's in a safe space, and that's in the CD space. But
yeah,
not in my mind.
For me, it's also like you can actually capture time.
Absolutely, time. Unbelievable, really. It's like a photography book, you know. It's a photo book. It's memories. That's what it is. I look forward to do this new album, and I'm sure it's gonna resonate. I don't care if it's 30 people, 300 people, or 3,000 people, but it will resonate. And who knows, we might be even on the road again. I know my drummer wants to, so I might have to offer that to him.
You should. It's like the least you can do for him.
The least, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so the next chapter is about Corvus Nebulus, which is something only a few people know about. Corvus Nebulus is like ambient, dark ambient, dungeon synth inspired music, right?
It is actually, yeah.
So
it's funny. Yeah, it's a funny one. Yeah, go ahead, ask the question.
What inspired you to do like something like that, which is again totally different?
It's timing. I think that's what inspired me. Time. So basically, like I said in one of the previous questions, we have me leaving Greece, going to England in '97, and like I said, between '97 and 2002, 2003, I had no money or no way to to record music or form a band. So during those times, quite dark times, I would imagine. I don't have much memories of it, but I was definitely isolated in a room by myself at university and spending time studying, but also playing games. I really enjoy PC games, and I'm a big fan of adventure games and role-playing games. These are the two type of games that I really enjoy playing, and I was so good that I was just playing a game and finishing it from beginning to the end without any cheat or whatever. So just play hundreds of games during those times. And one of the games that I really enjoyed playing in the 90s is Ravenloft, Strahd's Possession.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable game. The atmosphere of that game is incredible. And I know people that would play it now would not understand, but back in 95, 96, that game had a very, very nice vampiric Transylvanian atmosphere, and I was very good at it, actually. So the reason for me doing this project is basically a byproduct of playing that game. I used to have a shitty PC, to be honest, with a sound card that didn't allow me to play the game with both the effects and the music. So you would either play the game with the soundtrack, or you would play the game with the effects. So what I decided to do is, after playing this game and finishing it twice, I said, okay, I'm going to play it a third time, and I'm going to make the soundtrack for it whilst I'm playing. So that's the decision behind that project.
All right, that's nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Because I didn't have a band, really. I was just playing Macabre Roman stuff over and over again without any studio deadlines or whatever. And B, because I really wanted to experiment with synths, and I really wanted to make a soundtrack that I could play back with my tape recorder whilst playing the game with the effects.
I get that.
Ridiculous. This shows how much time we had in our hands in the 90s. You don't seem to have that amount of time nowadays to invest in it. But so that's what I did. I started the game from scratch, new characters. And again, I want to say that the reason, this is for all the nerds there talking about this project, that the dexterity or whatever of the character is very low. The reason I did that is because I wanted to put all the points on the power and stuff like that. Because along the game, you meet characters that would act as a mage or as a cleric. So you didn't need to be that. You just needed to be powerful with the sword. So that's what I did. So although I'm a half fighter mage, the dexterity is quite low, and the reason for that is because it's based on the game. I've played this game more times than anybody else out there, and that's the reason I have it like this. It's an incredible game, and every moment of that game, I wanted to make a soundtrack for it. So I started this project back in, I would say, 97, I would imagine, 97. And the first tape came out in 99, and the next tape, which was almost ready at the same time, was out a couple of years later. So what I want to say is that nobody really cared about that music back then.
Yeah. Well, at least
later, it's a thing. So I'm shocked. That's the least I can say. I'm quite shocked.
Yeah, at least right now I know that you got like many people who would want to thank your old computer for that.
Yes. It's amazing. It's I never thought that. I'm grateful that the release is out by Elven Witchcraft. He's a very good friend of mine back in those days, and he didn't really like it that much, to be honest. I remember he was a big fan of the first tape, but not of the second tape, which is quite sad because I thought the second tape was way more interesting. It had a lot of speeches from the game. It had characters, and it's quite an interesting thing to do. But none of the tapes really did very well. But I can see there's quite a demand now, which takes us to the next question, I guess, which is if it's going to be released or whatever.
Yeah. And Actually, it's like a two-part question. If you're going to re-release it, and if you ever think of doing music like that again in the future.
It's going to. I mean, it's 2 tapes. Like I said, they're all sold out. There was a repress from Ancient Recollections from USA a couple of years ago. That got sold out, and at the moment there will be a vinyl version on a label called Livor Mortis from Finland. It's going to be out sometimes after the summer, I would imagine, on a vinyl. And if that sells out, if there is demand, I have about 5-6 labels that would like to do represses. So I don't mind catering for those labels. I don't mind offering this release to people, but as long as there's a demand. That's my only demand is that there is a demand. I don't want this to be out there and nobody cares, because I went through this back in '99, and it's sad. I understand that maybe it wasn't for everyone back then, but it's quite interesting to see that there's a resurgence in this music. And the fact it's called dungeon synth, that's also something new to me, because back then we just called it ambient or synth ambient, and like even Mortis back then, which is one of my influences. My main influences for this project are Mortis and ambient stuff like maybe Vangelis and I don't know, like Brian Eno and stuff like that. These were the kind of inspirations for me, because even back in the late 90s, we listened to Cold Meat, but that was quite dark, dark ambient. That wasn't what I wanted to create. I didn't even have the soundscapes to perform dark ambient, which I'm a big fan of. But yeah, this is more of it's a soundtrack basically of a game, and that's why it sounds a bit, I wouldn't say childish, but it does sound like a game soundtrack. The idea was simply because I couldn't listen to the soundtrack, because I wanted to listen to the effects. So I made my own soundtrack from scratch.
Actually, that's indeed epic.
Thank you. But nerdy, very nerdy. But
yeah, I know. You know me more.
Yes.
So, just so you know that there are actually so many releases these days from actually very good dungeon synth projects, and in a moment when they announce any release, it's instantly sold out. It's like you have to wait. If you just miss it for like 2 seconds, it's sold out.
Yes.
So it is selling like crazy, and I know that there are many people who would like to buy the Corvus Nebulus stuff. So for me, you gotta do it in any case.
Yes, it will be done. Like I said, for the fans, there will be a vinyl release. It's going to be remastered. Also, I managed to get all the files out and try and. It's not remixed, but it is remastered, and it does sound good. So it should be out around September, hopefully October. And if that sells out, there will be different versions, I think. But again, there needs to be a demand for me to release this. If there will be a 3rd chapter, I don't know. But the fact is that I did start working on the 3rd one back in 2001. I had about 3 or 4 songs, but they got I lost them. I think I have the file somewhere on a CDR. It probably requires a lot of digging, also with the software and all this stuff. But I don't really want to excavate this band just because there's a demand. But to get closure, I wouldn't mind finishing that 3rd chapter one day. So maybe there will be a 3rd chapter. Maybe we'll see where life takes us.
Let's hope so.
Yes.
All right. So as we're slowly closing, of course, I'm going to have to ask you how you see this whole black metal scene all around the globe lately.
Yeah, I don't know where to start with this. I mean, like I said before, I am a big collector. I own a lot of stuff, too much really. I would say 10,000 vinyl, maybe 15,000 CDs, tapes, cassettes, anything you want. But I'm not really listening to much of the latest releases. One of the reasons is because I don't want to get influenced by the new stuff. I really want to remember what it was, what it used to be, and get inspired by the old bands and take that craft and create something of my own. But unfortunately, although things look more professional now than they used to back then, and they look the part, I have to say that sometimes they don't sound the part. I don't know why. Maybe it's this advantage in software with Photoshops and videos and all this, and all this kind of social media, Instagrams and all this. We never had this back in the 90s, and it was really, I remember those days like it was very holy, but unholy in a way. It was an unholy time. It was very special, and I really, really miss that. And I do check out new stuff, but nothing really hits me the way the old stuff did. And I understand it's probably because I'm a bit older now, and I'm not a young person anymore. So I don't really want to comment too much about it, but what I want to say is that I will not follow that path. I will keep on doing my thing because I would like it to be what it is, the vision I had. I'd like to carry on that vision, and I want to remember what I grew up with because it was a very special time. What I listen to nowadays is mainly a lot of folk music, dark ambient, and soundtracks. But yeah, mainly folk music. I'm a big collector of folk instruments. I've got about 200 instruments in my house at the moment. I don't know how to play them.
Yeah, but
I can make a sound out of them, that's for sure. So that for me is quite interesting, and listening to that type of music really inspires me. I don't know, it's something melancholic about it. It's as close to black metal like black metal used to be honest, for me. The melancholy, the darkness with folk music, it reminds me of those days that I grew up with. And I know I sound like an old timer, but that's it. I check out new stuff, but I'm not really into the whole new approach. It's really, something is not for me there. So I'll stick to what I do, and hopefully people will, it will resonate to people, I hope.
Yeah, I totally feel you because, all of my friends over here in Greece, and they call me Protodiskakia.
Protodiskakia?
Yeah.
Nice. Compliment.
Yeah, because last time I was talking to them, I told that after 2000, almost nothing good sounds as it should, and so, and I also wear tights and all basketball suits.
The spontaneity is gone. That's what I'm afraid. It's, and also I think like I said this before actually, but I think the fact that everything is available straight away, it doesn't help. So when you see something out on the internet or whatever, and you see it has a hype, another artist would just maybe copy that immediately, and that's not the right thing to do. I remember back in the 90s, people would just do their own version of black metal. So you had your Mortuary Drapes from Italy, you had your Rotting Christs from Greece, you had Mystifiers from South America, and Sarcophagus, and Norwegian scene, and the Swedish scene, and everything sounded black metal, but everything sounded different. And nowadays, I don't really get that much, to be honest. And
yeah, I know.
It does sadden me. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, since I started listening, actually listening to black metal in 2000, I remember that I wanted to to search and look for new music, and that was actually the spark that ignited the flame, as we call it.
Yeah.
Right now, all you can is click a new band, click another band.
Yes, unfortunately, that's the problem. It's all on the plate, and when it's on the plate, you eat it, but you move on to the next dish. Sometimes, if you cook it yourself, it resonates more. So when I say cook yourself, means discover it yourself. Try and discover something yourself, and not take it for granted, and that goes for the fans also. I think half the job is ours as musicians, but the other half is the fans. They need to do their homework. They need to discover and need to get that spark of real black metal with riffs, because that's another problem. I think today there's not much riffs. People don't invest time in riffs. There's the advantage of effects, but that's not a riff. So
Yeah.
work on the riff. The effect is later. The riff is the foundation. We need a riff.
Yeah, that's true, because right now, for example, on the latest Cubase, you can record a riff and you can actually retune it after it's recorded. So,
Sky's the limit nowadays. Too many options nowadays. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
All right. So, next question. We want like a top 5 of Hellenic black metal albums.
My top 5.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a difficult one, but I would say top number 1, The Mighty Contract from Rotting Christ. It really had everything for me, that album. I like a lot of the stuff, but that album really has everything that I need. And number 2, His Majesty at the Swamp from Varathron. Fantastic album, beautiful. They had their own approach on that one. It sounded like Rotting Christ, but in a very, very basic
More gloomy.
Very gloomy. It's fantastic stuff. Number 3, I'll get a bit of a Corvus Nebulus vibe from this one. Is Necromantias Crossing the Fiery Path, which is basically the cover artwork is from Strat's Possession, my ambient project. So yeah, that actually is an incredible album. It's a very organic album. That is. I know a lot of people would like the second one, but I think Crossing the Fiery Path is really, it goes as close to necromancy as anything out there. Thou Art Lord, number 4, for sure. That's an incredible Eosphoros. That album is basically got all the above into one. And number 5 is very hard. That's going to be very hard. I would say a lot of bands deserve to be there. Number 5. I'd like to make this honor to our scene. Our scene has got a lot of good albums out there. I would put my band on that one with Gods of War. I would put Zemial's debut. I would put Agathos' debut there. I'd put any band there deserves number 5, because we keep the spirit alive.
Yeah.
So let's finish it off on that note.
All right, and last question. What would you let's do that again. How was your view towards making music change from when you started, and what would you advise yourself in the past if you could?
I still make music the same way I did back then. So as we speak now, I am in my bedroom with the lights closed and a candle and my guitar next to me, So So that's me basically, and that's how I make music. It's all on this guitar. If it's the one, or if it's Macabre Roman, it's on that guitar with the light shut, and the fingers play, but the mind travels, and the visions in the mind are translated into music. That's how it is. And to be honest, I don't see a reason to change that. It worked so far, and I don't need to change that at all. Obviously, having the music and creating it, and then recording it and making demos, that's a different process. So the first half of making it, I'd make it on this guitar, and obviously all the other instruments I have. I can make melodies from other instruments, but the main instrument I would use is the classical guitar. But yeah, afterwards, the post-production and all this kind of stuff, the pre-production, I would say, that varies. That could be anything. So that's where, to answer your question, that's where I would change things. So the way I work on the one album is a very different way than I worked on it before, or I've worked on Macabre Roman before. But the foundation of making music is always the same, being on being in my bed by myself,
Yeah.
in the dark, and thinking of stuff. It just works for me. So I think I'll keep that for a while.
Yeah, it works for us at least. I know that.
Exactly. No need to change.
All right. So, Alex, last words are yours. And I want to thank you very much. And I know we've talked about it for a lot of time. So either you were busy or I was busy. It finally happened. I'm very happy
Yes.
for that.
Okay, Sakis, thank you very much for this. I want to thank you first for digging me out from the darkness, because to be honest, we discussed this for about 8 months now.
Yeah.
It took quite a while, and yeah, partially it's my fault. I just never felt. It's never easy for me to open up, to be honest. I'm an open person, but I can also be equally closed sometimes. So I'm glad we did this. It sounds like a good interview, and I hope people enjoy it. It's only the first interview I do in English, so I really hope it reaches fans across the world. To be honest, I hope so they can hear my story. So yeah, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to thank my mother, actually, because she's been a bedrock in what I'm doing. And if she listens to this, I always have her in my mind. She's gone through a lot of things, a lot of difficult times with the loss of my father. But her support is in this project is immense, because it was never a good time for us in the 90s to do this stuff, especially from an island. Money was like impossible to get hold of. We had no money, to do all these things, even buy a guitar.
Yeah.
To get your vision and your dreams across. It's an incredible thing. So, she's still alive. She enjoys my music, and I enjoy her company. So I want to thank her, thank my brother, and I'd also like to thank the people that work with the band. My drummer Thomas, TJF Vallely. He's an incredible drummer on Gods of War and on Amnesia, and I hope I work with him in the future. My producer Greg from Esoteric and Priory Studios, and all the guest people I've used in my music: Sakis, Rotting Christ, Bothmog, Our Lord, Lindy Hella, Nocturnity, great people I know, and I hope we continue this cooperation in the future and make more music for the next, and hopefully final big album of Macabre Roman, and close that chapter for good. Boom.
Yeah, it always comes to a time where you feel like it's time to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so thank you very much again.
Thank you, brother. All the best with your music
Too.
and bands. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. We'll speak soon.
χάσω αυτά που έχασα, μα και τούτα που θα χάσω. Και όταν έρθει η ώρα μου, να κλείσω τα μάτια μου, πάρε με κοντά σου και σαν τον αετό, αγκαλιάσέ με.